Chas and two other people that were involved in it. That's a very, very short word. Nice word, actually. It's great for it to go up.
If you say thank you, tell us.
We on YouTube?
You're right. Yeah, it's actually almost live. Now we're live. Oh, can you hear that? You can hear stuff. This was going to sound like a nervous. It's terrifying. Anyway, very briefly, that's the word. Very brief word. But so he says the word. Chavalozin says that one of the three things. Torah is Yaakov, is Yitzchak, Chasadim is Avraham. It's the wrong way around. You should say Chesed. Go in the order of the others. I speak about the fact that he started Ma'at's foundation. Anyway, so Chavalozin says that till Torah came, there was avodas with Chasadim, etc. Once Torah came, everything has to start with Torah. For example, if a person does avodah, let's make the korban outside Beis Hamikdash, which in times before Torah was a brilliant thing. Now a person chayav kos. So now it has to be Torah then avodah, Torah then Gunas Chasadim. You can't do anything if it's not B'derech HaTorah. Okay. I thank you all for coming. I appreciate it, Chaim, for making this beautiful decor, and Ben for all the desserts, and Polly for working care for sponsoring it. Which for? Sure, sponsor. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. This is the way it is. We're talking about Sheva Bachas Torah. Nothing of any real value, I'm afraid.
How many drushes were there?
Wait a minute, last night or tonight? No, there wasn't a lot. No, today the official plan was, this is being recorded for posterity, so I have to be very careful. The official plan was...
I'm busy censoring Trump and all that, you'll be okay.
Official policy was, nobody should speak for more than a minute and a half and to have quite about 4 or 5 drushes. A minute and a half. Well, more than 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7. But right, so what happened was, the first person invited to speak was somebody that we couldn't we said to him, but we couldn't actually. I had to make 2 shavuos. My youngest brother got married. It's finished now. Well, actually on Buzz divorce, so he couldn't actually. Anyway, but nicer. It's really all being recorded. This is anyway. It is in America, but nicer. The first person to speak went, oh no, and after that. Like grandmother protested, there should be no more drushes. So there was no more drushes. The whole plan went, but there was a lot of coming. Well, it was from 5 till 7 in Noshas. That was the plan. That's right.
That's right. There's 10 minutes more.
It's actually not a bad idea. It worked for a different event. For the Friday night, we did it taka. Minute and a half. I think there were 9 drushes.
Do these people who speak as a shavuot for 50 minutes, do they do this single
You're right.
Minute.
This is a very, very good point. I was once at a simcha, a person got up to speak for 50 minutes. I am not exaggerating. It's not fair.
You might not realise that nobody's playing on the house now.
People were pulling out their hairs.
A guy from London was Manchester, about 11:45. The guy got up, he says, I wouldn't want to listen to a drosha at 11:45. I don't expect anybody else to want to listen. Malsa Chasna and Kala and sat down. No, Kim, so he understands, but these people who go on for 30 minutes do not realise everybody's the biggest cheer of the night.
Listen, that is the way this. I don't know. It's a very, very strange thing. It's a very, very strange thing. What people are thinking.
If they like themselves talking, that's.
Look at mirror.
We need the picture book, Tolly. We need a picture book. A lot of pictures. And it's all quite logical. We've got a mile of 1:45, so we can't really waste too much time on this.
Be quiet. I'll try.
Just right.
No. We're discussing. Okay, you can do it. We're discussing. Actually, not so many pictures. I didn't do so many pictures today. Tofnun Gimel onwards, Tolly, if you've got ability. Quite a few. All the way to the bottom of the next page. Tof Samach Dalet. Tofnun Beza. Okay. After all that, a minute and a half. That's a minute and a half. The recitation of petition and things like that. If a person does a minute and a half, got 10 minutes, and I get 40 minutes, I have 4 anyway. The Gemara is talking about 2 people live next to each other, right? Me and Ben live next to each other, and we have a proper wall between the 2 each other. What happens? I can carry my garden. We do our chatzeros, we should say, a compound. All of us living in one compound, another compound, and there's a wall in between. That's like multiple people. There's a wall in between. Can we make an Eruv together? Right. If there's a wall, you can't, because you've got a wall between. We discussed yesterday many solutions of how you get access. primarily a ladder. Now the Gemara carries on with other ways of getting past the problem. We're up to Ein Zayin with base, the bottom line. Ziz. Ziz is a ledge. Top of Ein Chesem Adalef, the top line. Oh, want to? Okay, should we just start already? We want to wish you. No, wish you bad to it. You know what's there.
Again.
Sorry, wish him again. So you've obviously missed a few days because I've forgotten.
It's fine, it's mainly this week.
Oh, okay, another master. Okay, Ziz a ledge hayotzim nakosa, which goes out to the wall. Arba 4x4. Here is where the Tosfos gets very excited. You have to have 4x4. What did we say yesterday? Does anybody remember how big the ledge has to be? Tosfos you have to have 4x4. Rashi says only 4x1. And you make a ladder to it miatoi. So you've got over here, if you look at it, Tofnum Gimel, you've got a ledge, and there's a ladder to the ledge, and that's okay. Right? Tofnum base even. You look at Tofnum base as well. Do you mind, Tolly, putting on Tofnum base as well? No, Tofnum base. You do Tofnum base? Like a diving board with a ladder to it.
In this case, you'd be diving into the wall.
Only if the ladder goes straight onto the ledge. If you put the ladder next to it, you've just made the ledge wide and it's no good. If you put a ladder, which is Tofnum Gimel, next to it, it is no good. Because you can't climb from the ladder to the ledge. The ladder has to go directly onto the ledge. There's a lot of shias within the post, but the basic idea is clear.
Well, even if the ladder's got all the way to the top of it, you can't even have it a few centimeters lower. Well,
the Gemara does discuss these kinds of cases as well. Let's go guys on. A wall of 19 tefachim. You can make one platform at the height of 10 tefachim, a ladder to the platform. So now the ladder has only got 9 tefachim. 9 tefachim, we said, is not a proper wall, and therefore you've got access. But if it's got 20 tefachim, then you have to have 2 ledges. Rashi says the pshat, the very balabatish pshat we call it, not a lachik pshat. If you look at picture Tofna Nundalet, if you were to have the ledges literally one on top of the other, it would be extremely difficult to put a ladder in a way that you can climb from ledge number 1 to ledge number 2. Therefore, says Rashi, the only way, if you've got a very tall wall, is to have the ledges not next to each other, not on top of each other, staggered. If they're not staggered, you will not be able to get from one to the other. It didn't show you a picture of one on top of the other, literally, but you didn't need to because you can use imagination. So again, if you've got a ladder going to one ledge and on top of it you've got another one, what are you going to do? You're not going to be able to get to it. But if you put them not next to each other, then they're okay. That is Rashi's Mahalach. The Shadda shows that is base Mahalach. That means again, we're discussing access points. Okay, we'll see more about it. You've got a pillar in Rishus Rabim, 10 by 4. It's 10 tefachim high, 4 by 4 wide. What's the status of this pillar? Does anybody know? Rishus Yochid. Very good. No, it's less now. It's a proper Rishus Yochid. So imagine you're walking, as we spoke about this once before, along the M62 or Berry New Road, whichever Rishus Rabim, and you find an electricity box, 10 tefachim high, 4 by 4. It's Rishus Yochid. So if you pick something up from the floor and put it on top of the electric box, you've done an Issa Deiraisa. Can you imagine? You stick inside it one peg, one thumbtack. Can you imagine sticking it one thumbtack? Miatoi. So what does it become now? What does it become? Mokum Pitur, brilliant. You stick a thumbtack on the top of it. So now the area on top is how much? It's not 4 by 4. You can't use 4 by 4. There's a thumbtack in the middle. You can't use the area of a thumbtack in the middle. You stick a pin, not a thumbtack. You stick a pin. Are you going to be able to use it? No. So what's the area on top? It's 4 by 4 minus 1 millimeter. So it's not 4 by 4. So it's a mokum pitur. Mokum pitur, you're allowed to, it's not even D'Rabbanan. You're allowed to min haTorah and min D'Rabbanan pick something up and put it on top. No, you need a 16 square tefachim is also good. If you've got a circle, we had it go on Shabbos. Okay. Post boxes, no, which one? Yeah, that would be a problem. That's 4 by 4, I bet. And therefore that would be a Rishus Yochid.
It's hollow. It's 4 by 4, but it's hollow.
No, has to have. A nail changes, so you can't use it. It has to be 4 by 4 ledge. You don't have 4 by 4 ledge. You've got that. Brings the Gemara a shitta which qualifies this as only if the nail is 3 tvachim high, less than 3 tvachim, it's part of the platform. It's considered if you've got something to give here, if you've got like it doesn't disturb it. Even if it's less than 3 tvachim, you can't use it. So we have a machlokes over here. If you've got a ledge 4x4, 10 tvachim high, and you've stuck a nail in it, if it's more than 3 tvachim, everybody agrees it's no longer shusayachit. Less than 3 tvachim, it's machlokes. Yeah, it would have to be flat, and now you've stuck a nail. If it's a slope,
yeah,
I don't know if it's a slope. I don't know. Rav Ashi Omar, afilu shegvei shloisha. He argues he's machmir, and therefore we have to be choshesh for Rav Ashi that he says, even if you've got a nail, and even if the nail is 3 tvachim high, you still consider the shusayachit. My tama, after the tali beimiti, you can use the pin. You can hang your hat there. It's still a usable ledge. The fact that it's got a pin 3 tvachim high does not take away from its status as a shusayachit. What happens if you fill the entire thing with pegs? Can you now use it or not? Is it considered user-friendly or not? Now, looking at picture, I should keep it. Looking at picture Tov Nun Hey. It's not such a brilliant picture personally, but maybe you remember from Shabbos. Imagine you dig a hole in the ground 10 tvachim by 4x4. What's the status of the bottom of that pit? And therefore, what is the status? It's just a yachid. If you've got a well in your garden, if you've got a sand, I don't know, pit, what happens if it's only 5 tvachim by 10 tvachim? If 5 tvachim, it's 5 tvachim deep, what's the status? If it's less than 4, it's tvachim with 2. If it's less than 10, it's a calm, it's only to our bottom. Okay. What happens if it's less than 10, but the wall around it is 5? So it's 5 tvachim, and the wall around it is 5. Can you put something on the wall? Or is it considered a shusayachit? What would you say?
From your side.
Oh yeah, from the ground side, it's fine.
I know, you would think so, it isn't. It's a shusayachit. Because if you're standing in the pit, from the pit to the surface, if you look at this picture, look at the picture for 1 second, you can see there's a depth of 5 tvachim down, there's a 5 tvachim up.
Why is it different when you have the 2 neighbours? One's got 5, one's got 10, the one 10's got a problem, the one 5 hasn't.
That's got to do with the access point. Here, Lemais, it is a Rishusayachit. The fact that it is a separate area. It's a separate area. We're talking about now carrying. Here we're talking about, it's like, for example, I tell you, it's not exactly the same halachas. If you've got in your garden, what's the word for it, a pillow, it doesn't change. It's all your garden. You can carry from wherever you want. It's your garden. So over here, once you've got an access point, you've got an access point. Here we're discussing in the middle of a Shusavavim. You've got a pit. And in the pit is 5 tvachim deep and 5 tvachim up. So the wall around that pit is a Rishusayachit. Its actual status is a Rishusayachit. That means when we talk about Rishuyos, it's got its own independent name. We talk about access point, it could very well be that for accessing, to be able to go across, maybe you'd be able to make an Eiruvin across. It's not exactly the same thing. One's discussing an access point, one's discussing Rishusayachit. Okay. So the Gemara says like this. We had a question if you've got a ledge 4x4, 10 tvachim high, and you fill the entire thing with pins and needles. So the Gemara says like this. Omalei. Did you not hear a pit and the earth around him, it's starting to assault. You can't use it because then there's only 5 tvachim high, it's not independent. What you could do is you can use it by putting a ledge across it, or you can put something across and you can use it properly. So even if you've got something covered in nails, says Rashi, it's still a Rishusayachit. Why? You can put your coat over it and use it. So let's say you're walking along and we talk about this bollards. Bollards is probably not a Rishusayachit because it's not 4x4 on top. Say a post box. On top of the post box, they'll put, let's say, something to stop pigeons lying on, so jumping on it. You can still use it because you can put your coat over it, and therefore it's a Rishusayachit. And therefore, you have to be careful not to carry from it to it. Okay. If you got a wall of 10 tvachim, let me ask you. You've got a wall of 10 tvachim high. You want to make a ladder to be able to get access point. You're a builder, right? What size ladder would you order? The height of the wall is 10 tvachim.
More than you lean on it. Because you go down.
So you can lean against it so you can't move.
No, it's got to be more because then when you go down, come on, Mr. Matt.
Yeah, he's saying you're all right and you're right.
How is it?
No, he's also right.
I'm not thinking that.
Because Lovud, you've got Lovud. Lovud says that if it's 7 tvachim. You're right. How much bigger would you do it?
It depends how tall
The wall is 10 tefachim high. How much?
Maximum 13.
Oh, very good. Oh, my Yehuda Mashmul Krisa Sotzach Salma Bos Salati. You need 14, 1.4 to make it up the slant.
And we had it with
Tosfos gets very busy with angles. In fact, mathematically speaking,
confuse Einstein.
it's not actually so much. Yeah, Rashi says like this. I tell you, what's the problem? Rashi says. Rashi says, why do you need 14? Rashi says, because you've got the height is 10, and you want to make a 4 tefachim distance from the wall to give it a bit of an angle. It says 14. So this, I don't understand what Rashi's talking about. Because if it's 10 tefachim high and 4 tefachim long, how long would the ladder be?
Ben, come on.
If the wall is 10 tefachim high and 4 tefachim away from the wall, how much would the ladder be? Not 4. He says, Rashi says it needs 14. 4 away from the wall and 10 for the wall.
10.1, 11.4.
Very good. 11.6. 1 point, no. It is. It's a triangle. It's 11.4. It's 11.4. So maybe it's 11.4. 11.4. And 4 tefachim away from the base. Says Tosfos LMI. Says Tosfos. No, says Tosfos. The way to make a ladder.
Come on, Ben. What is it?
Okay. Anybody who's got the ability.
I'm completely. Yeah, we need more.
square root of
You're embarrassing.
the square root of 116.
Yeah, I'm just doing it now.
I know, but I can't go on the head.
Come on, Ben.
Okay.
Why is it
Let's do the Gemara. See what it says.
Yeah, it's 11.
13.456?
No, it's 11.
It's between
11 squared.
I think it's 11.4. But maybe it's not.
No,
Okay, think about it. You've got 10 tefachim high, 4 tefachim.
Yeah.
So how much would the ladder need to be?
I have no idea. Bigger than 10.
Not 14.
I'm going about 10.8.
That's what Tosfos asks on Rashi.
Why
Let's
would
see.
it be
10.8. It's less than
Let's see
11.
Tosfos inside instead of talking. Let's see Google. Look at Tosfos. It's the second Tosfos. It's the second Tosfos.
It's less than 11. You know, it's less than 11.
Less than 11.
Yeah, 11 squared is 1.
Let's see Tosfos. Tzorich sol ma'aba asolativ push because tzorich limshach laknas sol ma'abom na'kusav lo dok. Tichimoshach le'asot tzvachim nam na'kusav shushu gevei ha'kusav le'kevish tzvach ha'kusav ta'bos o she'alachsin shel yud al yud. T'chol am sevu bo am sevu sheichum she'alachsin v'chish v'nechananu. Whole Tosfos just did.
I'm going to get my ladder out.
Are you thinking on that?
What?
Are you thinking on it?
I'm thanking what do you mean? They're not.
Yeah, whole one
A whole Tosfos without thanking anybody. Okay. Right. Gets a 14 tefachim. Carries on the Gemara. Rabbi Yosef Omar Filu Shloshos Omar Shu 13 and a bit. Why 13 and a bit? He says the last tefach you can just clamber over, right? If you got 13 tefachim, it reaches 1 tefach from the head. Imagine this is a wall. You want to get over this wall. I can't climb over this wall. It's too difficult for me. My children probably could. I can't. So you get a ladder which goes up to 1 tefach below the wall, and then you climb over it. That's what he says 13. He says 11. Why? Because then you've got lovod. Because if you've got 11, you put it at a slant, and then you need 14 to get it at a proper slant. So 11 makes it 11 and a tiny bit more, gets it to within 7 tefachim, and then within 3 tefachim on the top, 7 tefachim from the bottom, and then you can just climb over. Even 7. Why? Why does he say 7? Because he says you can put the ladder on the wall. People can get up it. People can. You can't? Yes, you can. You can. You can. Hold on to the rungs, hold on to the sides, and climb straight up. You can't go up a ladder which is 180. Oh, there you go. So he says you don't need it to start. The argument is, do you need it to be on a slope or not? And if you need it on the slope, how much height do you need? There's a very, very big problem with it, a huge problem which Tosfos, which what everybody asks. If you remember yesterday, even a bit today, we said that once the wall is less than 10 tefachim high, so you're okay. So why do you need 14? Once it's 1 tefach high, then there's only 9 tefachim left of wall, and then you don't need more than that. This kasha gets all the shim. That's right. If you remember, if you put a bowl upside down, it's also good enough. There are 2 main lines of thought, and the Mechaber paskins both, and it's very complicated halacha. One halacha is like this. If you remember, the Tosfos do you need 4x4, just 4. And they say that all the previous sugyas were talking about 4x4. This Gemara is talking about, well, it's not 4x4, and therefore you needed to get all the way to the top.
Surely, if the angle, if the bottom of the ladder is less than 4 from the wall, is it all 3?
No, because it's not a ledge of 4x4, it's a rung. Do you hear this, teretz? Do you hear the teretz? That till now we were talking about 4x4, and now we're talking about a ledge which is not 4x4. That's like Tosfos. Very good. Tosfos says. The Ritva is a whole different matter. The Ritva says that till now we've been talking about being able to carry on the wall. Now we're discussing being able to combine an Eruv. Yesterday I didn't say like that. Yesterday I said that if you can walk on the wall, that's considered an entrance. Once it's an entrance, you can make an Eruv together. The Torah says no. There are two separate halachas. Remember, yesterday we discussed you're not allowed to carry on the wall unless you've got access to the wall. So to be able to carry on the wall, if you've got a bowl upside down, it's a tefach high, you're good enough. Because now the wall is only 9 tefachim high, it's enough. But to be able to now make an Eruv between the two, from that you need to have a ladder going all the way to the top. We're running out of time, so I want to move on. Okay. So the Gemara says, Omar Sulam Zokuf Memayit, that a ladder which is 100% Zokuf, a vertical ladder, is Memayit Gemara. I heard it from my Rebbe's for Yodana my time, but I don't know the logic. Means Rav said, I agree with the halacha, but I don't understand the logic. Why should the vertical ladder work? Omar Shmuel Yodana also. He doesn't know the logic. We learned yesterday that if you put one platform on top of another platform, it works. Now, a platform on top of another platform, you don't have the advantage that it's on a slope, but rather you have it on top of the other. So you see, if that works, this should work. What's the difference? So nice and arguing on halacha, Shmuel proves it from Mitzvah. Here we have the kolim sheba Bavel. There were date trees in Bavel which were very heavy, and they would cut them into logs, and they would put the logs down. Pieces of logs of wood. So now, do you need to dig them into the ground, nail them to the wall? Says Gemara, no, you don't need. They were so heavy that these logs were not moved, and therefore you do not have to nail them into the wall. The ladders above are also very heavy, and therefore you don't need to nail them in. If ladders are heavy, these logs, they were much heavier. The ladders were not so heavy. So it's hard to know without being involved and know the exact logs, what weight they were. But this is the halacha, that ladders or logs of wood which are very heavy, so then you do not need to nail them in because they're so heavy. Now, I'll ask you again a builder's question. If you have a ladder, you've got what's called the rungs, and you've got the posts which you hold on perhaps when you're climbing up. Which one would you consider to have been made from a stronger material?
No, the frame, because they help hold the weight.
When you climb up the ladder, I'm afraid Chaim is right. Chaim is right. Because the rungs you're standing on. The other things you just hold on when you're climbing up. You only need to hold on that strongly.
You can have a ladder that's made out of metal frame and move across.
The weight is distributed.
You're saying like Rishi now.
Yeah, but don't play on that.
You've got a ladder. Let's just look at the pictures, if you don't mind, for 1 second. It's pictures. You have to turn the page on the picture book. It says picture Tofnun Zayin and Tofnun Ches. What's brown is wood. What's yellow is straw. So now, the first question was the straw in the middle. You've got ladders on each side. The other one is straw. Straw is not so strong. Wood is stronger. So he says in the garden, the first one, it's no good because when you put your foot down on the straw, you'll probably snap, and then you'll end up without getting up the ladder. The second one, he says, is okay. Why? Because when you put your foot on, that's right. Yeah, that's right. We talked about. Yeah, no, but I tell you, if you look at the picture, they've done a better job. Here they've shown you where the ladder itself, yes, it's a good point. The ladder itself is holding the rungs. You're using the straw just to help yourself climb up. It's not, if you look carefully at the picture, the wood itself is taking the weight. When I shake it in the other picture, if you're going to walk up the middle of that ladder, you're going to fall through. Because on the second one. Again, let's just.
Have we always taken on that ladder's always got to be full?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, very good. Let's do it inside. Very simple. The foot is not going to go up, it's going to go down. It goes up. That is now we're up to Chesimon base. That is picture Tofnun Tes. Just look for 1 second. You've got Tofnun Tes and Tof Samach. If you've got it for ability to look for 1 second. In both cases, you made holes in the wall to climb up.
Why would that happen? It's not part of the construction of the ladder. It's further in. The ladder's on outside.
Right. Oh, very good. We're talking about where the holes in the wall of 4 tefachim, the ladder isn't. So then,
what do you need the ladder for?
because they're very good, because the holes in the wall don't get to the top. So
You
therefore,
don't need to.
oh, we're going now in this Gemara, which is going that yes, you do need to, either because it's not 4x4, or because you want to make an Eruv. That's right, or because you want to make an Eruv with a neighbor. So we're talking about steps in the wall, right? But they don't get to the top. So let's see the Gemara inside. You have to have 10 within 10 tefachim. That means if of the top. If you make it in the wall, how much? You have to get to the top. Meaning like this. In picture top samach, you don't have a ladder. Since you don't have a ladder, therefore the only way to get up it is with the holes in the wall. And Rashi says holes in the wall are not as good as a ladder because they're much more difficult to climb up. So therefore you have to get the holes in the wall all the way to the top. If they go all the way to the top, that's okay. When you've got a ladder, then even if there's 10 tefachim going from the top of the ladder to the top, that's okay because you've got the ladder to help you and you've got the walls all the way, the holes in the wall all the way to 10 tefachim. This is picture Tov Samach Aleph. You've got, instead of having a ladder, you put a tree there, a very nice climbing tree. And the question is, can you use it? What's the problem, by the way? Why not? You said it, you jumped a stage. You're not allowed to be Rabbanon climb a tree on Shabbos because you might come to stop a branch. So let's say the two of us are neighbors and we have a wall between us and we make this tree on both sides of the fence. And now we want to make an Eruv together. Can we make an Eruv or not? What would you say?
It's inaccessible on Shabbos. It's inaccessible.
It's inaccessible on Shabbos.
It was there before Shabbos, though. It would have to be there before Shabbos.
Oh, you're getting even more, even better. Oh, very good. According to Rebbe. Now, I just say like this. It's not exactly the same. We had a big discussion, a huge discussion, about somebody that puts his Eruv Tchumin on a tree on Erev Shabbos. It's Machlokes Rebbe and Rabbanon. Rabbanon say you put your Eruv Tchumin in a tree, you're never going to be able to eat it on Shabbos. Since you can't eat it on Shabbos, you haven't done Eruv. You've got no Eruv. That's Chachamim. Shittas Rebbe is like this. When does Eruv Tchumin need to be Chal? Ben Hashmoshes. Ben Hashmoshes, you're allowed to do it so to Rabbanon, therefore it is Chal. Now, would you say this Shaila of the tree is exactly the same Shaila as that or not?
No, because this is all about access.
And
therefore, because it's to do with access.
It should be more machmir.
It's more machmir because you're more likely to beat the bunch.
Oh, because on Shabbos you can't use it. Let me just finish off what he just said. I'm just going to explain what he just said. When Bayuveit Chumin, all you need is that when Shabbos comes in, you've got the bread. That's all. And once I've got the bread, so I'm going to shvisa there. But here we're discussing, do you have access? No, you don't have access. Because in the end of the day, you can't actually get to your neighbor this Shabbos. The whole Shabbos, you're never going to get to each other. So if it's much worse.
You have an entrance, so you've got an entrance. Shabbos morning, you've got no entrance.
Right. We discussed that, and as far as the Gemara says, the mechitza which comes on Shabbos is depends if it comes to Shiur. So we discussed it in the time. I don't remember all the halachas, but you're right. It means the same question would be: what would happen if we don't build the wall, and Shabbos comes in? We don't have a wall between us. We made an Eruv together, and in the middle of Shabbos, a wall fell through. Suddenly, a wall came in between the two gardens. The Gemara does discuss it. I don't remember the Gemara was for Shiur, for Beitzit, for Goya, Yid again. So the Gemara now, let's go on side again. It's 4 lines per top. Only Rabbi there permitted it. Because they only need to finish over here, we need access the entire day. It's no good. Exactly like Tony said. No, the other way around. It's a real entrance. That means Gemara says a logic exactly the opposite. Here, what's the problem? Access, I have access. I've got a proper entrance to go between you and me. The problem is, I'm never going to use it. Why not? Because it's a sit to our bottom. But let's say, for example, we have a door between me and you, a real door, proper entrance. And a lion comes and spends the Shabbos there. A lion spends the Shabbos, or a wild dog, or nowadays, a tiny puppy of my 4-year-old daughter, she would run a mile. Why is it different?
There's not a problem with the actual
but that's what we'll say. There's no problem with the wall. There's a proper door. I've got access.
The door is not. by the tree. The door's not.
Oh, what's the difference?
And here there's always
If there's a lion the entire Shabbos, do I have access to your house? No, because I would never dare walk through it.
What about a spider?
Oh, what about spider? What?
I wouldn't go into my front garden anyway. It's not like
Why?
They're tied there with in the entrance.
With the lion. Okay, let's say the lions are only by the entrance. Got big gardens. We've got these huge gardens, thousands of meters wide. So it's by the entrance there. So the Gemara says maybe faked. Again, let's go through the logic again. We had the machlekes of abundant by Ruvi Tchumim, which has been Hashmoshes. Rebbe holds it works. Chum say it doesn't work. We have a shaila by a tree. Says the Gemara. According to Rebbe, that permits it there. Maybe here forbids it, like we said before we even started this Gemara, because over here you need access to the whole Shabbos. There you only need to bin Hashmoshes. Says well, faked. And according to Rebbe, that permits it there. Sorry, according to abundant, forbid it there. They forbid it because you can't get to your food, so you can't become a shvisa. But over here, what do I need? It's a doorway. I have a doorway. What's the problem with my doorway that Chachamim say to me, you mustn't go on it? What's the difference between that and having a line by my doorway? There's no difference. Therefore, maybe it works. That's the Gemara Shaila. Okay. Says the Gemara, also la Shiur sunnah. Now Shiur is a tree which is used for the zol. What's the halach of such a tree? Osabano. You're not allowed to use it. You have to burn it. Right? Now, you're not allowed, the main thing over here is it's osabano, you're not allowed to use it. So let's say I take an Asher tree. Now, the Shiur got a big problem over here. We just talked about the tree. This Asher is also a tree. The more got two barachim. Either if you permit it by a tree, maybe by a Shiur it's worse because it's also a tree which is also to climb into Rabbanon, and it's also ba'ano. Or we're talking about a tree which has been uprooted, and therefore we don't have the issue of uprooting a branch. It's only a growing tree, not an uprooted tree. I'm not going to go into that again. I just want to point out that this shaila is a little bit dependent on the previous shaila, because the previous shaila was a tree, and now we're talking about the Asherah, which is normally a tree. So either we're saying al-atzad that you're okay with a tree, what about the Asherah? Or we're talking about a tree which is not going. Sorry, Shai, what did you want to say? Sorry. She got to be full Shabbos. What's the problem? She got to be full Shabbos. So what uprooted? Why? That's the shaila. So I've got exactly the same shaila now about Tiboilu Abuda, Tiboilu Abon. The shaila according to Abuda, according to Abon. If you remember, this is a different shaila. We didn't do it as long. Where what happened was somebody put his Ruvi Tchumin on a cave. Now the halacha is a cave is osabano. You're not allowed to get hanov from the cave. We learned it shom from Megla Rufa. So now you put your Ruvi Tchumin on the cave. Now the cave is really protecting your food. So therefore, you're benefiting from the cave. So this is a shaila that doesn't work, or not a Abuda says it does. It doesn't. Tiboilu Abuda. Ad kaluk Abuda also to put like noise bias besua, know that it works by putting your food on a cave. It also to the konale meaning like this. I don't need the cave. Why don't you need the cave? Because once Shabbos comes in, if the food gets eaten, I'm still got over tchumim, right? If the food gets eaten, so I'm not using the cave the whole Shabbos. I'm only for 1 second. Therefore, I put it down. Shabbos comes in. Until Shabbos comes in, I don't need the cave at all. I don't need the food to be there. Once Shabbos comes in, the second Shabbos comes in, it's already. I don't need the food. That means I don't need the cave to protect you. I'm not using the cave. Or you don't know. So therefore, Mashiach over here, you do need the tree because it's a proper entrance. But the problem is it's a lion. So therefore, it's only because it's a lion, meaning it's only awesome. Oh. Let me take this. So we've got two shaylas, one by a shear, one by a tree. That means by a tree it's okay, by the shear it's forbidden. Iloj is a Shabbos goyim loy, where Shabbos is the reason why you can't use it. Nitzah, asher shesed avach goyim loy, where the other thing causes it is asher is isav avodah zor, lo nitzah. Because when we say that the Shabbos is the problem, so how can we make an Eiruvin and say, well, I've got access? The whole aspect of Eiruvin is problematic Shabbos. And Shabbos tells me that you're not allowed to use this entrance, therefore you can't. Nashikin asher, legabe lecha Shabbos, I've got a proper entrance. Legabe avodah zor, it's a different problem, it's like a line. It will not make us Robin, Shabbos game no, also Koshis of Achik game no. But it depends if Shabbos causes the Issa or something else causes the Issa. So we have three different alchim in this shaila. One is that this same shaila we had Gabi Ilon and Asher is the same shaila that Abuda and Rabbanon. That is the same shaila. It's exactly the same achlikas we had. By Ruvet Chumin, which is kind of shvis in the tree, we have the shaila over here. And the same shaila about Kvod, Beis HaKvod, Beis Asher is the same shaila over here. By Shein came, another man says, no, anything which got to Shabbos is a problem, something not to Shabbos is not a problem. And regarding the First man, he says by a tree it's okay, by a shiur it's no good. Okay, there's a lot of sucking over here. The Rishonim point out that there's another fundamental difference between the Ruvei Chatzeres and the Ruvei Tchumen. Anybody who chapsers deserves extra drink, Coke, or hot water, whatever they prefer. No, what would you say? There's another fundamental chilek regarding the Gisui Hano, using an Issa Hano to make your Eruv. If you remember, we discussed actually, this we did discuss. Can you use a Isui Hano to make your Eruv? Yes or no? Oh, the difference between the Ruvei Chatzeres and the Ruvei Tchumen. If you remember, the Gemara there said that Ruvei Tchumen, you're allowed to use the Surah no because the only reason you're allowed to make a Tchum is for a mitzvah slav lehenus. And Ruvei Chatzeros, you're allowed to do for your own personal pleasure. So therefore, the Rishonim say that the Gemara over here, the Emes should be passing the Chumah by Asher, meaning like this: that when I use a Beis HaKvoros for my Eruv Chatzeros, for my Ruvei Tchumen? Sorry, for my Ruvei Tchumen. What's the point? The Chalois Eruv is not a no because it's a mitzvah that's and it's nitnu. Oh, now I can walk further. You're only allowed to do Ruvei Tchumen for the sake of a mitzvah. The food I don't need. I don't care if the food gets destroyed. But I think by Ruvei Chatzeros, you're allowed to make Ruvei Chatzeros just for the benefit of, let's say, for example, you've got a neighbor, you want to be able to make a kiddush, you want to be able to pass lemonade, etc. So Ruvei Chatzeros is letting the hano. So you have to be more machmir. We are more machmir than Ruvei Chatzeros than Ruvei Tchumen. You cannot use. No, because here we're talking about the access point.
No, I'm saying generally with Eruv
because you're getting a no. You're getting a no because you can go to your neighbor and have a cup of tea. Therefore, you can't use Hashem. Ruvei Tchumen, the actual food you don't need, and the actual tchum is only for mitzvahs. Therefore, it's not considered a no. Next Mishnah. We're continuing with this discussion where you've got two neighboring chatzeros. The first Mishnah talks about what? Windows. The second Mishnah talked about walls. The third Mishnah talks about ditches. So you're all passing the halachas yourself. You could work it out your own logic. If you've got a ditch, if it's 10 tefachim deep and 4 tefachim wide, can you make an eruv together? No. That's what Mishnah says. You can't make an eruv together. Why? You've got a ditch, 10 tefachim deep, 4 tefachim wide. How can you make an eruv together? It's like a wall, so you can't make an eruv together. Afilu mole kashrei teven. Even if you filled it with straw and food, why? Because it's moved, and not just you can move it, you're going to move it. What do you do with straw? You feed it to your cows. You're going to keep it there. But mole also first, if you fill the ditch with sand or pebbles, be'avin echod, be'avin shleim. I should ask you before. If let's say you fill up the ditch with sand, can you make an eruv separately? No. Why not? It's one big chotz. You can't make it. Now, what happens if you've got a ditch 10 tefachim deep, 4 tefachim wide, and then nosan alav nesa shorach v'avot tefachim, and you put a plank of wood across? Here's picture. Yes, Tov Samach Gimel, brilliant. Tov Samach Gimel. What would the halacha be? Can you make an eruv together?
Yeah.
Can you make an eruv separate?
Then join the two chatzeros. No.
Together, why not two?
Can you make it together? Moshe said yes, you can make an eruv together. Can you make the eruv separate?
Follow the logic now.
Why?
It's like an edge.
He's right. Think about it. It's two separate gardens. We've only got one doorway. It's like a ladder. It's like a doorway. If I've got a garden, you've got a garden, I've got a 4 tefachim wide doorway between the two. Can we make a separate eruv? Of course, because so looking at this ditch, it's a proper wall. You can't get through this ditch. Through the wall, you've got one plank of wood. So can you make an eruv together? Yes. Can you make an eruv separate? Yes. It's the best of both worlds. Again, that's the next picture. The picture took some time because I took at the picture. It's quite complicated. You've got 2 balconies, right? Zoom, opposite each other. You've got 2 balconies, and you put a plank of wood across. What would the halacha be? Can you make an eruv together? Can you make an eruv together? Yes. Can you make an eruv separately?
Yes.
Yes, because each house is a separate house. We could close the door, move the again. The chain base because the doors are going to zoom out. Let's say the plank of wood is not 4 tefachim wide; it's only 3 tefachim wide. Like you'd have told me yourself, I'd have given you a second to answer. What happens if the plank of wood between this ditch is only 3 tefachim wide? What's the halacha? No, not because of loved. It's not a doorway. It's not a doorway. A doorway less than 4 tefachim is not a doorway. So therefore, each garden is separate. Separate each garden. You can't make an eruv together. So if you've got a massive ditch between you and your neighbor, so if you put a plank of wood across, you can make it together. If it's less than 4 tefachim wide, the plank of wood, we consider it's not enough. It says the Gemara, "V'teben u'chayitz." Does teben not make a chatzitza? Well, not now. Matlich b'shti chatzevos. Let's say we've got 2 gardens, and instead of a wall, we have a big bundle of hay. It's actually picture Tov Samach Vav. I don't know if you managed to upload it. I love pictures. Tov Samach Vav. A big bundle of hay goes between the 2 gardens. So then, it makes no difference if it's a wall or a bundle of hay or a hedge. The halacha is you can only make 2 Eiruvin, you can't make it work. That means, like this. Regarding, is it a chatzitza? Yes, it is a chatzitza. Why is it a chatzitza? Because at the end of the day, you can't walk through it. Look at the picture of Samach Vav. If you, for example, have a garden, we put a huge pile of hay between the 2 of us. We can't get to each other. If we can't get to each other, so therefore we're 2 separate gardens. But when we are trying to fill up the ditch, you cannot consider the ditch to be blocked up unless you decide to cancel the food up. If you're not canceling it, then it's not. Let's just do. I'll let you tell you a bit more because anyway, my starts quarter to whatever happens. But not 3 minutes. Okay. So again, again, so let's get to the picture clear. If I've got a garden, you've got a garden, and we've got a ditch between the 2 of us, and the ditch is 10 tefachim deep, 4 tefachim wide, can we make it there together? No, you can't make it. If we put soil and earth and we block it up, can we? Yes. If you put straw, not. Says the Gemara, Mole offer, even if you don't decide to leave the offer there, it's already chatzitza. But now, the halacha is we're talking about a dead person. A dead person, how far is in Matame? The dead person in this room. Who will become Tommy? The whole room. Anybody in this room will become Tommy. What happens if there's no space between me and the dead body, so I should say, between the dead body and the ceiling? What happens? Because it doesn't stop. Unless there's a tefach of space. Now let's say the dead person's a holder. And he holds stuff, and there isn't a tefach space, the tumah goes all the way. Only if it's off, if he fills it with straw, and he leaves it there with kavanah to leave it there. Bitloy, only if that's kavanah to leave it. Loy bitloy loy. If it wasn't about it, it's not. So we see that only when you have kavanah to leave it. Omavuna. Let me just think a second. We'll stop here. We'll stop. It's not. We're left up with the cash. It's not the end of the world. We'll stop line. We're up to Omar Huna. Right, we'll stop it there. Stop again. Top line.
Where's my?